Jacob.
Like,
So I thought we would, I'll read from the, do some chatting with, and then I do. So there. I want to read something. This is in the middle of the book. Conversation between our narrator, Shelley Means, and her. 6 o'clock next morning, Twix woke by licking face. I reluctantly pulled on my sweatpants, put on my jacket, and mule, took her outside. I pulled her away from the empty box on the sidewalk in front of her. It was a pain to her outside. I was happy she was basically broken. That was all I ever expected her to learn. It was realization. Had a pee outside. She had her puppy PhD. Anything else she wanted to learn in life was, as my kids' school referred to it, enrichment. My own children's early childhood would have been much more manageable, only been responsible for getting them to make their numbers in the right place, and other things we really had to do, which was stoke wonder in the second. I tried to lead toward the spindly tree building that center of the sidewalk, resisting my hug. Suddenly there, directly at me. What's wrong, girl? I asked. Calm one of those women, their dog. Know where some families live? She asked me. I imagined what my dad had been saying to me for didn't seem surprising. They spoke. Second, where I wondered if I was having a cognitive abortion, but then I didn't know animals have been talking since the day they saw, and that was 6th century BC. No, I said slowly. In beaches, tons of bitch. And do you know those families eat tons of garbage? I felt a tinge of sad beach had been. Do you know what those families eat on those mountains of garbage? I repeated by myself. Donkeys? Twix looked at me, incredulous. They eat garbage. The conversation I dreamed I would one day have with my dog was to tell me what a dog owner is. So what are you going to do about participation in this system? Twix spotted. What's I asked? System that there's no value on your work. Oh, that system said. Why don't you start a revolution demanding do more to work in child rearing? She asked, walking a few paces to sniff something on the sidewalk. Snowy wouldn't talk this way to Tintin, I thought. Walk around the house, I said meekly. Just snap, not at 50, but he reports us, said. You work, Quick said. Yes, but make us any money, I said. I felt like I onto some ground. This wasn't any more wacky than any interspecies conversation in Aesop's work, like the story where a frog talks to a boy. Frog and I were in a serious conversation. We were talking about money. I talked about money to myself, at least, all the time. I knew something about what would I have done if Twix about the beauty of the sea and that place. Do you about this structure you're in? She said, aren't you going to demand money for your work? Well, get paid, I said defensively. I am provided by George, and I am getting a beach house. Yes, but that's not for your work, she retorted. Don't money. You do piles of it. She arched her back It's refreshing to see such shame. Why was shame intrinsic human experience? I tried to think of something good about shame. I came up with one. It enabled miracles that generated music to cover your gassy sounds. Picked up the bag. It was warm. Yes, I had piled for my minute, hold the bag by my fingertips, bring it to the trash can. Well, you could get a lot of people together and create a revolution for kids, she said. We began to the building. Built it for surely. I have an awful lot of opinions about who gets basic income and cradle of health care, I report. Let's talk
Okay.
about it.
I'm delighted that you read this passage chapter, at least reading your book. I was enjoying deep into it and going into the way I love all your writing. That was that time where I was like, all right.
Oh.
But it's also point because when people we've been working together for years, and a lot of for me outlook at the Washington Post, and the one thing I'm like, you know what, Amy Fusselman essay I should read it. I said, well, she's got this one where she talked. You shouldn't name your dog people name. You should name your dog like Stapler. And she knows this, according to the in the wild somehow, is that her dog, as far as I can tell, that's the truth. It's a bat in the Washington Post.
It's all about the source of, yeah.
Yeah, we're really. You know, one of the things that's so delightful in this novel is that we have this dog Twix, who is both a sort of as a kind of growing political consciousness, or really almost comes into being with a sort of consciousness as we, but it also does things eats chocolate inappropriate. Also, relationship with animals, maybe especially that leaves you with such curiously complicated in your.
Oh, well, that you responded to Twix, and I put that here in the audience. It's just like making my day.
So we're seeing this.
So present, I feel like it's reading. Yeah, I guess that's I'm a late dog owner. Like I'm a dog that I right now is the first dog owning, having a dog in adult. I think that's very different from when you have a dog as a kid. And as I've been a parent and parenting, but different, you know. For this book, which was for better or worse, I decided that I wanted to be known. I wanted you to jive, like feel an intimate narrator, necessary you to like in the. So because everyone in the means is kind of a buffoon in a way, who became a person who moral center for the book, and fun and easy because often dogs in life, as I see it, like our choices, see stuff that they, might constantly like her, my husband about like our dog, and it was funny, like, intelligence writings about consciousness, and so like the idea of just a story like the take on the subject of capitalism and consumerism, the dog, one in the book.
Eating,
Except that she eats the
croissant.
yeah. Well,
Luxury engaged in it.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want to eat it with kind of chocolate
There you go.
now and then? So you not necessarily wanting the reader to like your protagonist or narrator, but a lot of what is in this book is elements in your life you've written about. For example, the experience of container home, which control to this. And there's also your first novel. You primarily had experience like you of shifting essays or memoir, personal forms of writing to fiction.
Well, I think really the primary goal was to figure out a way to make it, and that's why it took longer to write. I was learning, structure. I was learning how to build a story, and I like to. I mean, when I came to write, I like my the beginning, like music, is my first love, and I'm really writing by voice. Never was really interested in plot. I've major I read a lot, like, but it was just never. Look, I mean, I don't didn't that didn't move me. It's like, what did they say on the page? What characters are they make? I feel like I went of intuitively in writing in the beginning, like structure, and it had the element of music. My nonfiction, I feel, was musical in the sense that I was interested in pattern, chord, and repetition, and I loved intimacy. The author. So novel was haunting me, like, okay, the plot mattered. Like, there has to be a beginning, middle, and a reason to turn the page. Like that, that's really like so I I had the experience of building a container house. It's in the Hamptons, and while my own experience was not remarkable, it seemed like a setting for examining money, and also to try to write with an of trying to a bunch of goals. So I guess I've answered your question at this point, but anyway, yeah. So like the story sort of be all try to write and all on this experience. It's not my, but just the bone or something.
I mean, I guess I always wonder about a book like this is clearly drawn. I mean, right?
Yeah.
Necessary, but you're taking on this experience of your own, but necessarily thinking somewhere else. How your own head, how your own experience, your starting point is something part of your own life, part of your own story.
Yeah, it's well, I'm not that I've felt like it's almost the hardest writing is in this like star project. It's almost like finding into the like there's a certain like, okay, this is I mean it feel like I'm there. It's some talk about it's like when the thing that was super helpful, so appreciate essays for the post was the humor that to find pieces to me find Shelley. Like it was like, okay, if I can write about, travel partner robot, this whoever is narrating this and feels like to me, this is a place I want to enter. So I was like kind of warm up for what became this voice in the needs.
If Shelley though you was not a character working for was writing this at all a process of self-criticism, self-critique?
Definitely, in the sense that I mean, I feel like the thing I learned about writing fiction is think people read fiction, myself included, for just different reasons. Some people, it's all legit, whatever gets you, like, you want to read fiction because you want to take action to be and screw up eyes, or what, or what do you like your mind? And I like things that are, I like political, I love writing that sort of makes you, that opens things and see things differently. It's like poetry idea of, it's a, dog or whatever, like metaphor of that. And so didn't want there to be arresting an easy place in this, it all to be up. And it was for me, as somebody who was building a container house, to be like, if I would really peel back this process at single elements and how bad it is in terms of labor, it's like I was aware of myself going through it and being unconscious. Do I need this need? I didn't be asking myself, what is the house? Like,
do you all know about we're talking about out of containers? One detail that I loved in the book, we talked about this briefly on the phone the other day, is this moment where he is with someone who's the containers for her and decides she doesn't want to become. Turns out that they had cat food in the previously. Did you have any experience of that while you were building?
I did, in the sense that there's something about the container, that they have little, they're like tagged that know how much they cross and what with. And I was asked the artist to keep this as an aside, like that we would be able to know what container. And so obsessed with detail. It didn't turn it in the book into a thing that was like a, like where Shelley obsessed with the right tense, because that seemed like a very Shelley thing to worry about. But in my, it was an email or wonderful architect. He just was like, yeah, build with Shell, which was, I was like, and I mean, that was departure, and the shelves are so weird, they're such a non-object, but and then that sort of led to me wondering how Shell about that, how it, another element sort of stat.
That experience of thinking about how your character would respond to something from you, part of helpful as you.
I mean, I feel like nonfiction more, as I'm writing, like I'm looking for things in that from or to braid. I'm looking for real, and with this, it was like a, there was just like a lens. It was, well, this would be, this is how in this kind of characters. I mean, it's just, it felt, I mean, first person, like such of the that I love that place, but this was really satisfying to the eye, little distance, and to be able to make situation and to use my life differently. Yeah, the separate.
You talk about and thinking of, not hopefully way too much. I think this is clearly a book about money that you've given your title family. Suggest something about that. But it's also really a book about the experience of not having as much money as you had, how we deal with that or don't. What were you thinking through? What were you trying to do? That kind of journey, Shelley, relative affluence, relative lack thereof.
Well, from the beginning, Shelley wanted I wanted her different kind of person. want her to just be sort of, just like a caricature. I wanted her to be sort of unlaceable. It would be rich, but poor at the same time, kind of rich, and also trajectory down. Like that from the beginning that I sort of wanted her to be like circling the train. So one thing for me as a writer, it's not for Shelley to explore. So just of example, sort of the unreality of money. Oh, it is, and that it is. How much money is there? How much money is there? Like it's just added to sort of the possibilities of what where I was going.
Shelley's management problem. I
Oh,
think that's part of her character.
Shelley management problem. Yeah. Well, yeah, that was fun of her as an. It's just that she was, it was fun, how he was off the handouts, throw her occasion.
Well, standard. It's fun. Water,
Yeah,
that's fine. Plastic.
absolutely. No,
No, but is there, I mean, is there an anger that motivates the book that was there in the writing at all? It's not to say it's passionate, it's not is to suggest that it's affectless or something. It's not that. It's not a book that feels full of his voice anger, but it's full of anger. There any anger went into writing this or went in thinking about how to structure?
yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like Shelley, her didn't go like super deep. Why does Shelley want to be child? I feel tired that, like, why do you, gold finger? Like, I just do. It shows up. It's not. We can't get super about it. It is like her beach house quest is a stand-in for like other things. It's like she's trying to fix like an internal problem with this external fantasy, and this large that she, in as she is worked for it she's keeping a lot of balls in the air, and she's crabby. Yeah, go line around and umbrella.
I mean, as the passage that you suggest is large part about domestic labor and especially the sort of invisibility of certain labor that mostly women do. Where writing about that take you? Or what inspired you to make that your theme in this trade?
When I was thinking about Shelley and her relative position, like I wanted her to become that trajectory money wise. She's not making any money. I wanted to what her relationship was. She is in a way broke, and she more so where that with her privilege. It's just part of the skewedness I wanted to examine in like what is wealth, is privilege, is it's a beat out of, but it's in and it's like there's a lot of just up and down. I wanted to just really kind of hard to locate in a way I feel was pushing back a little bit on tropes. What is
my nature is fortunately did a doctorate in literature. That I'm making this more serious. Very fun. What I'm curious what your kind of mode of writing that kind of lose money, also sometimes writing about things in real anger and such. What was the concept you wrote, or all day, or if you off time in the evening, or what? I hate to say this in this way. What's your problem?
Oh, but
It's well, that's your PhD, that I appreciate. No, I help, I'm grateful to be a writer. Like a character that a lot, that is good for. I'm very persistent, and so I, like people who work like I started. I just wrote constantly. I guess it's like I wrote whenever I could, and because Shelley, over eventually for my life. Even when I wasn't writing, I'm thinking about connections. I'm writing notes on. Becomes a something that you couldn't let go of, and so Shelley and her looseness, that's sort of the fun of writing, or it has been. I've said this before, but I feel like my brain, I've started like my grief, I've just sort of become like happy along, or I should say has become humorous along. And so, but says something about me or not, I don't know. I love comedy. I love increasing, like you, super both in what I write. So pleasure, to go back to Shelley, Brazil, we did this.
I'll say, on comedy and the turn in your right. I reached out to you, remember, a little,
yeah,
which is an inverse. It's maybe one of the few. I loathe the term lyric essay that we used to describe sort of unformal forms of. It is an actual essay because it's written poetic and I didn't actually know what to expect. As someone who has read that you and asking you to write for defunct ideas section, thought, well, we'll just see where this takes, and turned it and read every 4 months or so. Like wonderful, rangy, where do you now? Do you want to keep in this form? Do you want to keep trying new strange things? Will the other voices?
I just have to give a shout out for reaching out to me though, because when your email came in, I was like, this is a joke. No one approached this email. This is Jacob. No, I definitely I want to write a novel. Sure, of course I do. I feel that they're fun thing and why an possibility. I'm excited to is stoked.
It's gonna
The challenge I can say it's because probably the biggest challenge feels like letting go of first person.
Yeah.
I'm curious to do something in third person because I love the entity that first person offers with him, and so in studying person type, trying to see what advantage it offers, how I can in a way that's satisfying.
Are there this question that I've loved asking? Are there that you're reading as you think about next returning to?
Well, I went through a Cormac McCarthy phase.
Right.
Well, he's not, but I'm like, I just, yeah, it was, that was amazing. And Meridian, amazing. And I also, Candide is sacred to me. And so, those are all third person.
Those are also books that in one are Texas.
Yeah.
Where we
Suffering.
watching.
Yeah, well, you can't, I mean. Right, humor.
Maybe though,
Not so,
honestly.
yeah. Yeah.
Perhaps, shall we
Thank you.
turn it over to questions? Anyone have? One already?
Should I stand? I don't want to say. Say that shall anger complete. I get the needs or cough. But full time. What is she sleeping? You think? I really description of it. Really long as the underlying thing
Yeah.
for her own like what home
Heat, it's, so it's,
There's-
yeah,
color.
yeah. Ooh, is she hiding? Yeah, that's good. Well, I think maybe that's a, where do people like solid? I'm sorry?
Is right.
The day, right, water, it's clean ass or your, sort of well, I just,
Song.
well, it's like singing. I mean, her fantasies around water, that's true. Thank you for doing that. Then, yeah, it's maybe too, because she's just like shoving down ocean. Oh, yeah. But everybody needs the of your city, and I don't find it have to have some decent out.
Also gets, again, not to give away too much for those who haven't read it, but it's something that I think is can be, but part of the book is that some of it is about giving, recognize, finding like the whether some of the beach house made out of containers or a wonderful dog, whatever those things maybe often means giving away elements, parts of the fantasy, things to turn out to be as good as we want to be. I think write about to try in a slightly different question that I was trying to think through. Write about appointment still has some lightness and as we do.
Wow. Oh, that. I don't know if I mean, I feel the. Well, I called it a tragic comedy in the beginning because Shelley did get what she wants. She doesn't actually get the house, like she actually just gets eaten by the mom cat she's been away from the entire time, or she's consumed by it. So I don't do it as a. I think cross from, in some there's usually some element of I want to say worse like, spiritual about having an external force again for an internal problem. Like how do you deal with this issue of being alive and to die up in between, the fundamental how do you deal with that? Is that how you live? I don't
Have you
know. No, the answer I find yeah,
having you figure
the container. I think that's what yeah, but I think that's a question. I like clear. I clear is good.
so well failure too.
Yeah.
There's a way to be funny. Okay.
It's clear awakening power. Failure is good for Shelley might not completely right in that, but the read and see
That she recognizes that at least her anger is right as
yes. Yeah.
there's another
So quick, one came to my reading this is Husselman was via Paul's novel,
Wow.
which is very darkly think about this was striving to get a house, what the house means to him. I was just wondering if you're familiar with that. It's very funny. I remember reading it when I was 20 years old and myself away. But later I saw Nightfall in my 30s and deep his back and because I think it's dramatic. But the question of on the rules like post 2008 is the house as a big American culture become very complicated and I feel like a better job of examining these American a little bit, but I feel more as well there's something the house it has kind of I'm local to do that. So I tried to finish reading it before the talk, but I wasn't able. I'm just feeling sort of home ownership and the ambivalence and anxiety that surrounds home. We'll talk about millennial house. Basically, so I don't have any anxiety about ownership, and I think the aspect of environmental as another that I'm going out of the details of this a little bit about the house. So what my feelings of ambivalent on home ownership is this long moment I think in American cultural history. Or since 2000 to now I think it goes a bit.
It's a great question. Yeah, I think that that was part of the appeal of this was about, how much house porn. It's such a, I mean, what is it? Home sex sports? Is that what? Yeah, I mean, very gender, but yeah, the whole. I tried to examine some of its obsession, material. I mean that she had immediately going it's going to be that she have over her like backsplash. I think it's the house is a really complicated symbol right now. I love your observation for in some really
one of the reasons kids a moment ago is that the house can be such a locus for war is that the house is also and anger where almost all of these feelings that we have to live with every day end up getting jumbled up and fed back to us in a place and really escape.
we can't escape. Right. Right.
Or at least
Oh, yeah.
especially those barely left their houses for
Right.
Yeah.
COVID.
Think something working from home, cook,
Yeah.
different valence, another valence as well. Yeah.
Yeah. A reason for an escape home. Vacation home. Yeah.
So there were a lot of exchange scenes in the book that were comically almost cliche in New York. And since you live in the city, how easy was you or how hard was it for you to pick and choose New York things you get to experience every day? It's a particular neighborhood character or change that can really like New York with one specific about the competitive nature of who gets volunteer at certain scenes, which because that's I think
Yeah. It was, I mean, New York is a great landscape for writing, there's no question. But it was fun to pick Shelley's neighborhood as being sort of a lot of time to decide where she's gonna live. Like ways it seemed like she lived in Brooklyn, but and I thought sort of that she was in Chelsea, but the sort of down Chelsea. Like the Chelsea it's not like the
Discount.
Yeah, the second floor. Or the, the classes, like that would be, it's sort of a no man's land. It's not very, I mean, it's just sort of another way of an Upper East Side getting into her Range Rover every Friday to like run out to the anthem. She's in like, sort of in this weird, or like just salad. Not even just salad, just she's yeah.
Thinking and writing about money. Because pretty much always still have to have a lot or another there, but what that means can still make it feel very
Right. Yeah.
That's why she's so angry at the PTA guy, because he's ahead of her on the totem pole, and he's a finance bro, and she in the discount or whatever. And I mean, I think anger comes from the sense that she's not in the, that ahead of her. Her real estate agent seems to be ahead of her. It's ahead of her.
True.
And everyone has a lot better than, and that's comes from. She's that she can't, acts out a lot, and that, as much as sort of an unlikable character, she's just randomly act out. It makes she literally attacks the finance pro, so thrown off the PT.
That's one does.
That's good.
Has lots of, her well, she has money, but she's definitely not rich. Everyone else in the book almost is doing that. She finally gets the Hamptons. She's one hand taking up her packing with her shitty house.
To live in her house.
So there's a flip side to this. Then you're saying not to give away. I once read fun of the very idea of spoiler warnings, and here I am against spoilers. Yeah, but one of the things I found very charming about the conclusion of the book, which I will not do much about to those who have not quite, is the that hurt some of those expectations that these people, we sort of take early on, or decide to be kind of elites in their own way, are not as Shelley is. That kind of blend who we think money and who has say structure.
For a counter to your perspective, those for a long time you're from the West, and your early Western sense. Do you? It seems like maybe 30 years of New York City has kind of stamped that out of you. But are you trying to? Is it important to retain that? Or are you just to let go and see where it is?
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's sweet. I mean, I feel like in Western is a lot. I would hope in this book, sense that ultimately it's sort of questioning, signs of health and all status things. I mean, her is, driven by it. I great for my Big Ten and I learned there about,
What university?
Ohio University. Yeah. Well, I've been in New York now longer than any other place, but I feel that, Michael's Ohio. Shelley's following.
Is Shelley a native in the book?
Shelley's, oh yeah, that's right.
Right,
She
she's-
hates, yeah, It's Minneapolis too, yeah. She fled.
I didn't Ohio for some-
Mm.
try to Ohio sometime.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
I hate to ask I thought it was so that therapist is also a real estate, and I think you're really doing something interesting with that. Because the language of therapy and how it's become, how it's just become sort of language of the internet and the language we speak now. That was a very not sort of comment on the role of therapy and how it's like into something else, and how it may be related to what we are, trying to pursue in real estate and these. I wanted you to just say something about that and what kind of poetry you're going for there, because I think it was the connection of these two things I thought was really interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, it was very fun to all of a sudden realize that her therapist was going to be totally rogue. She was just going to be like, oh yeah, let me show you this property. Like that suddenly seemed like absolutely the right thing that should be happening. And because in this world, like everyone's trying to hustle. Like it's just that sort of where can she hustle? The only person besides Twix the dog who's not, obviously hustling is the tarot card reader who gives her reading for free. I mean, I sort of wanted to give that alternate, her service as to make a point, because the person that you would think would be the most obviously trying to sell her a bill of goods was actually the one who was acting the most generously. But yeah, real estate, your therapist should not be trying to sell you a house.
Which is that maybe more therapists should be in real estate, because if houses are where our dreams go to die, and discover our dreams. And
Exactly.
what we're really getting there is great service.
I mean, honestly, how many real estate brokers would say that they operate as therapists? Probably most of them. Yeah. Because people bring so much baggage to buying a house, as I've heard. Yeah.
Well, shall we wrap up?
Yeah,
Let's
thank
back to
you
books.
guys so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you.
All right, everyone, you're free to talk and stand up, stretch your legs.